Hi, I'm Mr. Miyagi, and this is Mr. Miyagi's Workshop. Well, we're starting to wrap up this old 1975 CB360. We've still got a few things we've got to do. Finish off the forward controls a little bit up here. We also got to clean up the rear hubs and stuff. We're going to try polishing this stuff out. I've already kind of started doing some work on it. These hubs kind of need a job. And one of the reasons why we didn't powder coat these is that these rubber inserts here, these are kind of like shocks that absorb that when you put it in gear and shift and whatever. And I don't know how difficult those would be to get out or to even find. We have the bearings we still have to put back in here, but right now I want to clean this up and buff them, polish them up a bit. Front hub needs to be gone over. I cleaned it up a little bit, but not a lot. And I'm going to buff this up and make it look a little better, hopefully. And then we also have the fork tubes, and we will clean and do those up. And put this all back together again and get it on 2 wheels with its fine solid suspension. Anyway, like I always say, let's get to it. So what I'm doing here is I'm cleaning up this front fork. Now it's got a clear coat coating on there that I'm taking off. Now this is a brass wire wheel that I've got going on here that I'm peeling this off with pretty much. Just buffing it off with the wheel. I'll show you here. And it just takes a bit of work to get it to this stage. Now I bought that wheel at one of the welding shops around here, I believe. I'm not sure. I think you could even get them at the hardware store. You might even find something like that at Harbor Freight. But seems to work pretty well. Getting up. So I'm going to get back to work here and see if I can get this cleaned up and the hub. Now you can see that cleaned it up fairly well. It got a lot of that clear coat covering off there, and where the little bit of the corrosion was happening on the tube itself. We'll see how well this will buff up, but I've got hubs and everything to do right now. So, I know this is probably obvious. Safety glasses. These are vision glasses, but they're special glass that stops a lot of the objects. I don't know if you noticed, but there was a couple of these fibers that came off of the wheel, and they bounced off my glasses a little bit. Another thing is wear some gloves and probably a face mask, but I'm wearing mine. So anyway, I'm going to get this set up for buffing and see if we can't polish out those hubs and lower fork tubes. Now what I've done here is I put on a buffing wheel, and I have some rouge that I can put on there. This will help buff out the hubs and everything, and the lower legs on the tubes there. So I'm going to get this set up a little more, and then I'll be right back. so you can see how much fun polishing is all about. Although the parts turned out fairly well, I'll clean them up. I didn't do a super glossy polish because we're trying to keep this bike still looking a bit old and vintage. And it's a lot of work to get it to this stage. This was what you guys see me do it on Fast Deal, but that was like an hour and a half of me sitting here at this wheel buffing. So I got my exercise in for the day. But now I just got to finish cleaning up a little bit of this stuff and put some bearings in and get this thing laced up. And then, of course, tear the forks apart and put in new seals and everything. So here we go. All right. Yesterday, I got these together. I didn't film it. It's pretty straightforward. You can go on commonmotors.com, and those guys down there have a pretty good video on doing forks and things like that. So this is all set up, new fluid and everything in there, gaiters on. But yesterday was kind of a screwed up day for me, so I didn't get a lot of filming done. I didn't get any filming done, but I did get these put together and such. So let's go over to the table and we can look at some lace job. Well, you can see here, I got the wheel all kind of put together, all laced up. One of the items I wanted to show you was something that I bought from Harbor Freight, which was kind of nice. This is an adjustable spanner for locking that seal in and that bearing on this side. And yeah, it's the adjustable pin wrench. It was, I think it's like $5.50. It was really worth it. I was able to screw that on and get that in place. The seal on this one, there's actually a socket that Common Motors sells that is notched to fit in here to screw that in. But anyway, I got the rear wheel laced up. It's not trued or anything, but what I will do is I'll set up and we will film doing the front wheel. What I have here is the front hub, and one thing I've done is I've separated the inside spokes from the outside spokes and got my nipples here, the spoke nipples ready to use. Pile those up there. Now, one of the little trick things I like to do when I'm installing these spokes is that you want to lubricate these threads so when you put the nipples on, they don't gall up and lock up on you. And I also like to put a little spacing underneath these for right now as we're starting off. Oh, I wanted to show you this tool. This is one of the things I got from Common Motors. It fits this upper seal area, locks that in place, and it works really well. I kind of like it. So another thing I've done too is I've gone on here and I've marked one side and I've marked the other on which way the outer spokes go. So this would go right through here and on, and then we have an inner spoke that goes the opposite direction. So we got to work these all the way around, and then we'll flip it over and we'll do the other side. There's a little playing around with this stuff, but you know, it's not all that bad. So let me, I'll put a outer spoke on. And we'll do an inner. So you got to kind of play with this stuff here. You can put them all together on there and deal with it, or you can do one side and then flip it over, and then you got to do a little messing around to make it work. Sometimes you have to remove a spoke to get one of these other spokes to slide by. So that's something you got to pay attention. So I'm going to get to laying this out, and we're going to go to fast speed, of course, and then you can kind of see what's going on. Well, you can see that might have been a little confusing on there. I was confused. I don't know about you. But, you know, you just don't get in a hurry. Watch which way the divots are going in on the rim itself. You've got uppers that go this, you know, from this way, left to right, and they're bent up. And you have the lower ones on the other side of the rim are bent down, and the same identical thing. And what you're doing is that's why I wanted you guys to take that picture first before you took everything apart, so you can actually go back and look at those pictures. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set this rim up on a truing stand and see if we can't get it trued. Now you might notice too, as I went around and tightened these. First I tightened about halfway, went around, and then went around to where the threads just disappeared, and that kind of gets everything. I want to make sure that all these spokes are put in there equal. So you just take your time setting that up and you'll be happy. And applying some sort of lubricant to those threads will make a big deal too when you're tightening up. So like I said, I'm going to go get the truing stand and set it up and get to it. Now, I know a lot of you don't have a truing stand like this. You can make your own by using some 2x4s and whether make it deals. One thing you want to do is you want to make sure that the hub stays in place, so you could actually use your axle to do that with and set it in place. Right now, this isn't too far out. I got a little side-to-side movement, and I got a little bit of up and down, so I'm going to have to take that out. And the whole thing on doing this, it takes time. Don't get in a hurry. I don't care, you know, got to grab another cup of coffee or another beer or whatever. Just take your time. This isn't a real fast process. You got to go around and tighten everything. And one thing is to have a nice little wrench like this. I got this, I think, at one of the motorcycle shops years ago. It's got pretty much all of the nipple widths and everything on there. And this is what I've used to true up my wheels. I like to start with where the tube comes through. And the best thing to do there is just to mark it with some tape so you know where that's at. And that's kind of your starting point, if I can get it to stick. I've got so much lubricant on there that it doesn't want to stick. Stick a little tissue up inside that so it's not going anywhere. Maybe throw a little tape on that, hold it on this area right here. There we go. All you got to do is you're just trying to mark the area. So side to side isn't too bad. It's the up and down that I want to work on first. Hear that? We're a little hot, we're a little out, so you want to find that. You just want to kind of tighten that up a little bit. These are kind of loose. You can use a screwdriver right off. So when you're tightening these, for up and down, you want to kind of tighten both spokes. So you're sitting on there at a cross angle, and you want to tighten one side and the other, and then maybe go past it a little bit. And then what we'll do, once we get this thing kind of side to side and stuff, we go all the way through. We start off with this point here that we've marked. We tighten all the way around on both sides the same amount. Oh, you might have noticed that I was actually measuring. Remember I told you to write down the measurements when you had it on the table to see where your offset of the rim was sitting, if it's in true here. And that's what I was doing. I was measuring off the surfaces and checking my book to see how close I was on my measurements, and I'm right on the money. Well, it took a little bit, but I got it back in. So rear wheel is done. It's all tightened up. It's got a nice ring. Well, you probably noticed that I've got the tire on. This is the rear wheel. So I'm going to put the sprocket on. We're going to put this at the stage that we're going to balance this wheel, and we're going to static balance it. But we need to put the sprocket on, so anything that's turning with these wheels needs to be in place so that you get a proper balance. We're going to put the washer down on it. Nice big washer. And then we have a snap ring that we need to put in place. And this helps lock that sprocket. So you'll need a set of snap ring pliers, and you want to make sure that that's down and set in there. It doesn't hurt to tap these a little bit just to make sure that they're down in there and good. Yeah, I know, I'm using a screwdriver. You're not supposed to do that. So I also want to make sure that these nuts are tight. And these are a 14 mil. So we want to make sure that they're good and tight on there. So I'm going to get my stand set up here, and then we'll go through the process of balancing this unit out. So I have a balancing stand here, and we're going to do a static. We're going to let this wheel find its heaviest spots. The heaviest point is at the bottom here, so you want to go directly above, and that's where you want to put your weights on. Now, to determine how much you have to kind of play with that a little bit. So I'm putting on here, what is this? I think that this is 7/8 of an ounce. So I'm just going to push that on there for right now. And we're going to take it over here to one side. If it rolls back, which it is, we're going to have to add some more weight. So this one's like 3/4 of an ounce, and it still isn't tight enough. What we can do is we can use a little tape right now. I just want to make sure I don't overdo it. So we'll put it right there. And we'll just basically tape it in place. So we're going to hold this right here. If it doesn't rotate back, which is slowly going back, and then we'll go to the other side, and it doesn't want to do it. We'll go here. One other thing you can do too is you can use the stick-on ones that you can use on the cars. Now they do make some black ones, or you can paint them black. So it looks like it's going to turn out to be about 1 5/8 ounces. I think we're pretty good right there. I'm going to knock these on the rest of the way. I do like these style that you can reuse them again. the sticky backs don't, once you cut them off, that's pretty much it. So anyway, one thing too, when you're putting these tires together, you see these two little red dots? Well, there might be a single dot or a red dot. That always lines up with your stem for the tube. So you want to keep that in mind. So the rear wheel is balanced. So now we'll move on to the front wheel. All right, now we're on to the front wheel. Now, I put the rotor on because that's part of the turning part of the wheel. And we want to balance, make sure everything is in balance there. This one didn't move much, and I can show you here. It's really moving slow. So you get an idea that if they move faster, then they need a little bit more weight. This is 5/8 of an ounce. So let's try it. So I'd say up there. And I'm going to open this up just a hair, and then I'll be right back with you. That went well. Yeah, I got this on there, capped down in place. Seems to be just fine. Doesn't want to move. So there we have it. A front wheel balanced out. So I'm going to go install these over there on the bike. Well, you can see we've got it on two wheels now. I did a few things to it to get it all set up. I've got all the brake systems set up on it now. The front is set up. I haven't got it bled off yet. But for this week, this is where we got it. We got it sitting on two wheels, and everything's looking good here. I've got a few odds and ends I have to take care of. I have to make up the right length throttle cable, which I'll show in the next video coming up, how to do that. And we'll bleed off the front brakes. We'll do a bunch of little things next week to finish up this project. And hopefully we can get it started. And then I'll do some adjusting on the carbs and everything and see if we can't get this thing to run pretty darn good. But like I said, the brake system's all hooked up. This is adjusted. The new chain you can see in there is on. And it turned out to be a 102 link chain. All this, the cable for the clutch is all in place. We got the side tool bag on here. The clutch up here is all in place. Got the front brake system all set up. I have to bleed it off. I have to put fluid in and bleed it off. The shifter is all hooked up. We like the Gators, and I thought, you know, blacking out that front end would be kind of cool. So this is basically some 1.5-inch tubing. It's thin wall tubing, stuff I use for exhaust. And I just painted it. I cut it so that it would fit inside. Then I used some little O-rings to hold everything in place. So as always, if there's any comments or questions, you can put them in the comment section below, or you can send them to my email address at tmiyagi@hotmail.com. And if you've liked this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget that ringy-dingy button over there for the next episode coming up. So this is Mr. Miyagi saying, you be safe out there. Hope to see you on the road. Ciao.